Deja Brew Again, back here for another beer review. Today we are reviewing a Middy from Better Beer. So a little bit excited for this one. These guys are the people that own this have kind of gone nuts lately. They're the Inspired Unemployed. They're a comedy group. They're really just on YouTube. You've probably seen like one or two of their videos, especially in Australia. They're now doing like the Australian Impractical Jokers. So there's strength to strength at the moment with this. Anyway, they're in a brewery. It's 3% alcohol, so I would start to say that's not really a mid-strength anymore. That starts to be in a low, what we call a light beer. Mid-strength is usually between 3.5% and 4.5%, but a little bit of license, it's fine. No big deal. So we'll crack onto this. I'm not expecting a huge amount of flavor that comes out of this. And it only has 4 ingredients: water, malt, hops, and yeast. These guys are their whole brewery is very much, it's a bit more health conscious when it comes to making sure there's not preservatives in it, and they really list the calories and those sort of things that are in the beer, so you just know what you're getting. They're pretty upfront with what you get for what would be a comedy group that probably pulls a few punches out and about. But let's get this can rip. Oh, good can rip, boys. Oh my god, straight away. Good can rip. Let's just dive straight in. There's not too much you can say about a mid-strength here. It comes out, it's very weak. It looks like a 3% beer. Just from the get-go. There's only so much you can do when the alcohol's not really in it and not everything's feasting. It's actually come out a little bit better than I thought, but yeah, it does definitely have that lighter beer finish, definitely. It does have a bit of an amber hue to it, but definitely more on the lighter side, this beer, for sure. The head is gone immediately. That's pretty stock standard for these type of beers. I just did a whole bunch of tasting low-calorie beers and low-carb beers, and they kind of all look like this. We'll see how we get on here, but let's have a quick sniff. Okay. It smells very clean. That's probably the best way I could describe it. A bit more of a lager finish to it, just with the smell, a little bit of citrus notes probably coming from the hops. Not really getting much from anything else that's in this beer. So it's abiding by the German rules, but that's about it. So let's crack on. Very low on calories. I think that's 61. Is that 61? Yeah, 61 calories. Wow. If you might not know, if you are a bit weight conscious, you're more looking for, instead of low carb, you're looking for the alcohol content. Lower the alcohol content. Usually the less calories that are in the beer. All right, let's just dive straight in here. Let's just go. Yeah, that's pretty pleasant. Okay. Yeah, it definitely tastes like a 3% beer. I feel like they've had to inject it with something in the brewing process to try and give it some oomph, some flavor. It's not really there. It's a little bit harsh to review these kind of beers because, they're not meant for this. It's not their absolute stallion of beer of just like, hey, look how much flavor and taste is in this. It's going to be a bit lighter. It's a lighter beer. It's what it's meant to be. Carbonation's a little bit heavy, I have to admit. I usually find this with the lower strength beers. It's either the yeast that they use that just doesn't eat everything away, or they stop something in the fermentation process. I just find that the carbonation in it is usually a lot heavier. The initial taste is quite good. It's very pleasant. Then you get a bit of this like lemon bitter kind of flavor that's really at war with each other. It doesn't come through at the same time. Sometimes beers are complex and they're layered, and that's a good thing, especially when the flavors really contrast with each other. And I can't compare this beer with something that's made out of a Belgium Abbey, but a lot of those beers are so complex and so layered, but they sort of come at you at these certain times, where this is kind of it's really just a nice light mellow flavor just to start. and then it's like 3 flavors that just hit you all at once that really just don't gel with each other too well. However, out of like the mid-strength beers, it's probably one of the better ones going around, to be honest. There's nothing harsh in it. There's nothing artificial in it. There's nothing that leaps out to me that says I wouldn't like this at all. I can't remember where I rated Better Beer when it was on the list of all the low-calorie beers, low-carb beers. I don't think I had it in the top 3 from memory. I think I had it around like 6th. I would say this beer would probably be around that sort of space as well. Yeah. Yeah, it just has it's just the hops flavor doesn't really come through in this at all. Nothing's really leaping out to say, yeah, this is very, very good. Again, it's a 3% beer. This beer is fighting with an arm behind its back. If you're looking for a 3% beer, I would probably recommend this. If you're really worried about, hey, what goes in a beer, and I just want, a light beer, I'm at a barbecue, but I've got to drive home, those sort of things, I'll definitely bring this. Especially if you're going to know there's a few people there. I'm talking, you might be at a barbecue with some kids, and, just all the dads are having one beer. This is a prime 6-pack to bring to that. Nice little lunchtime barbecue at a park. You don't want to be seen out in public. Yeah, this would work. It's pretty much the only time I would see you drinking it. Maybe the first beer before your wedding. Like, if just to be like, oh, I'm just gonna have a real quick one, but it's 1 in the afternoon, and I don't, I've got speeches that I need to remember. So maybe then. That's probably the only place I see this really working. It's designated as drivers that are, just riding the limit, or you want to know exactly what's in a beer. I will give them credit. They're very upfront, these guys, with exactly what goes into the beer, how much alcohol's in it, how many calories. Not a lot of craft breweries do this. So credit to them. That's their market, right? The market is slightly more health conscious. I would argue if you're very health conscious, then beer probably isn't the best thing for you, but 61 calories is significantly lower. Some of their other beers wouldn't be as low as just a standard beer that you rip out, but 61 is quite significantly lower when you think most beers are usually about 150 calories. So if you're definitely looking for that health conscious choice, I would look to go to here. It's a pleasant beer. It's pretty easy to drink. There's just not much flavor to it. There's nothing leaping out. I'd probably, unless I was in an exact situation when I needed a mid-strength and I was comparing, or even a light beer, this isn't a mid-strength. If I was comparing light beers with each other, I would go to this one. I really would. In saying that, I've got to rate it with like everything. My whole rubric, which I'll make a video about one day. And because of that, I'm going to give it a 52. It may seem very low, but there isn't much flavor here. There isn't much aroma. It's not complex. There's not really much going on, and I kind of compare everything together in a lump sum. But I do like to have that caveat of, like, if you are after this exact specific thing, I would probably say that this is probably one of the better 3% beers that are out there. I tried the Pure Blonde recently. It's definitely toe-to-toe with that, with the 3% Pure Blonde, but not a giant conglomerate, so yeah, you're pretty happy, and you'll definitely 100% know what you're getting here. It's very clean, it's very crisp. I would say it tastes almost fresh, but that's where the compliments end. It's got a bit of a harsher finish to it. I think it's because they've cut some of the fermentation process just to keep that alcohol limit low. It just seems a little bit underdone, just with the harshities that come through in the beer. There just isn't something that is ultimately pleasant. I don't get a lot of the malt flavors that are coming out of the beer. It's just kind of like a bit of a fruity citrus hit of the hops, and then just, yeah, the real bitter part coming through when the yeast poops out everything. Yeah, that's the whole beer review. Not my usual stock standards. Nothing funny here, boys. No, like I said, these guys are huge on YouTube. I random all these beers. I didn't pick this to try get some clout. They're not even going to see this. I have 10 subscribers. they're not going to care that someone kind of ragged on their beer a little bit. I feel like I was nice about the ragging, but, right, like, 52 is low. It's starting to get, like, below what a beer is. But 52 nonetheless. Yeah, it's fine. I think 50, like, that's the thing in this world, is everything needs to be 5 stars, right? Where an Uber ride really should just be 2.5 stars. Just like, yeah, it got me into the thing. Wasn't anything special. That's exactly what this beer is. Got me to the thing. It's not really anything special. If you haven't made it this far, why don't go see some of my other reviews? Yeah, I'm doing like an end credit scene. Ooh. Yeah, they're over here. So there's like 2 of them over here. One will be a live tasting that I did at Capital for their Oktoberfest. The other one will be a live tasting that I did at Mismatch. I believe it's Mismatch brewery. So yeah, those would be the 2 beers next in line. So yeah, go click on them. Check them out. Otherwise, yeah, happy drinking. Cheers.